All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Bristol Township Zoning Hearing Board. I'd like to get started. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remove your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get started, let me introduce you to a few people. Sitting to my left is our solicitor, Keith Bidlemeyer. We have with us Bob McTeague, Director of L&I. We also sitting in for our stenographer, Cindy Oliveira. We have Kimberly Chatburn. Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn.
Here.
Gerard Lycon.
Here.
Mark DeMarcus. Here. Jim McMahon.
Here.
Ed Murphy here.
Okay, let's get started. The agenda started here. Natwar Patel, 1001 Lang Avenue, Bristol. Please come on up.
You can come up. Mr. Patel, you have your notices. We're missing the posting. Can we ask him?
Do you have a picture of the posting?
Posting sign?
The yellow.
Yellow sign?
Yeah.
I didn't bring it here, it's still in the backyard.
I seen somewhat of the sign. I see the post he put up and it was weather damaged, but I did
Okay.
see it on it,
Okay.
on his house.
Was it posted at least 2 weeks before tonight?
It was the day we received.
Okay.
Okay. You can proceed. But I need,
We're doing a carport
okay.
parking, because there's a lot of rain comes in and it's hard to get in the house from the back door. So it's just a carport.
You have to swear him in? Okay.
Sir, just make sure that green light's on the microphone.
Okay, now you can proceed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're doing a carport for the car parking, because when the rain, weather is snow, it's difficult to get in the house. He's retired, so it's like, he's in the house. That's the reason we built in, requesting to put the car park on the driveway.
Okay. That's all you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, have any questions for Mr. Patel?
Yeah, I do. Hi, Mr. Patel.
Hi.
You're keeping it from the looks of your drawings here, the same width as the, addition that's on the back of the house already?
Yeah, it's same.
And is it a carport with sides or a carport without sides?
I like, likewise.
Pardon me?
I didn't get it. What do you say?
A carport normally doesn't have sides on it.
No
And the
sides.
door?
It's open,
So it'll be an open carport.
completely open. It's just a big.
Okay. This is basically, I seen your black Tesla in the driveway and your
Yes.
charging station right there against the house.
Yes.
So this is basically covered at,
Yep.
The
yeah,
black
it's
car.
electric too. That's
get it.
another thing.
you know. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I do, I'm sorry. How far of a setback are you requesting?
I'm sorry. It's just a property line, the house.
10 feet, Colin.
Anybody else from the board? Bob, anything else to add?
Nothing to add, Jim.
Okay. Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against this application? See none? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion for it.
I'll second.
Call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, James and Jacqueline McCaffrey and Christopher Levins, 20 Markham Court. Please come on up.
Good evening, Matthew McHugh from the law firm of Claire Harrison Harvey Brandsburg LLP on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, we're good. Go for it.
I have some additional plans if the board would like, unless you're comfortable with the versions you already have. This is a single-family lot at 818 and 822 Third Avenue in Croydon. It presently is improved with 2 existing single-family homes. We're seeking a side yard setback variance in order to subdivide the property straight down the middle and allow for each of those existing single-family homes to have their own separate tax parcel and lot parcel. There's no proposed improvements or changes to the footprint of either of those buildings. They're going to remain the same size and in the same location. So all we're talking about really is a technical variance as a resulting from the internal lot line, which is being drawn right down the middle of the existing lot. So it's a 100-foot wide lot. We're going to put the lot line right in the middle, so it'll be 50 feet on each side. Just to orient everybody to the property, if you're looking from plan right, that would be the intersection of 3rd Avenue and State Road. As you're coming down 3rd Avenue, a couple of properties in, about 4 properties down, you'll see the subject property on your right-hand side. 818 3rd Avenue is the 1.5-story dwelling that is located closer to the road, and then 822 is the smaller 1-story dwelling that is located setback off the property. As mentioned, right now it's a 100-foot wide lot with a total square footage of 12,500. There's a couple of existing nonconformities which I want to point out that will remain. The side yard setback, when you're talking about the 822 building, the one in the rear, it is currently only 1.3 feet off the side yard. That is not changing. That is going to remain. The aggregate side yard setback, you're supposed to have 14. Right now you have that 1.3 on the 822 side, and then you have 9.2 on the 818 side, which gives you a total of 10.5 feet for a non-conforming side yard setback. Also, the rear yard setback for the 822 building is currently only 2.1 feet, and it will remain. 20 feet is required. And also the front yard setback for the 818 building, 25 feet is required, and an 818 home has 17.9 feet. So again, the proposal here is to subdivide, put a parcel line right through the middle at 50 feet. The only changes on the property you're going to see is there's an existing concrete walk, stone wall, and patio that are associated with the 818 home that would encroach into the new 822 lot. Those are going to be removed. And on the 822 parcel, there is a shed and fence which would encroach onto the 818 lot. We're going to remove those or relocate those somewhere on the property, more than likely just remove them. Ultimately, the relief that we're asking for is for the 818 Lot A building. That is going to be, it will end up being 4.8 feet from the new lot line to the existing single-family dwelling, which will require a side yard setback variance. So that's a summary of the proposal. I have both Jamie McCaffrey, the owner of the property here, and Miguel Zavaskin, who's our civil engineer, prepared the plans. I can have them sworn and available to answer any questions.
Okay, bring them up. Anybody have any?
I do. And Jamie, you're the owner of the property?
Yes.
And you heard my summary of the testimony? And would you adopt that as your own testimony?
I would.
Okay, and Mikhail, did you prepare the plans?
Yes. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mikhail, did you prepare the plans?
Yes.
And you heard my summary of the testimony?
Yes.
And would you adopt that as your own testimony?
Yes. Only one comment.
Yes.
I'm not civil. I'm a
Oh,
surveyor.
surveyor. My apologies.
Okay, who's James and Jacqueline McCaffrey?
James.
Okay. And then who's Christopher Levins?
A partner in the property.
Partner in the property. Okay. So you guys own both houses on the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this, when you bought this property, that's how it was set up with these houses on it?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
The audience or you guys?
What? No, I'll let you know with the audience, all right? Anybody from the board have any questions? No? Okay. Bob, anything to add? Okay. All right, we're gonna hear from the audience, I guess. All right, anybody? Come on up, sir, you gotta get sworn in.
Edward Morgan. I do. So, just to be clear, because I don't know the whole zoning thing, I'm new to this stuff, so, this is, I live in 826, I live in the house next to 822. So,
Plan left.
right, the one to the left. So you have the smaller property in the back, that's the, next to my yard. Is this gonna come anywhere into my property at all?
No.
Nowhere onto my fence?
The building is
and
not
stuff?
moving at all.
Okay, so the property line isn't gonna change either?
Right, so. Sure. Sorry. The only change, and it's not even a physical change to the property, this line is now being created so that this is its own parcel and this is its own parcel. The shed and fence that are over here, they're gonna be removed, but there's gonna be no change to your property.
And not on the other side either, on the other property either?
Correct, so they're removing a stone walkway and patio here, but everything on this side, same. So we're really drawing almost an imaginary line down the middle of the property as it currently exists so that we can have two separate parcels.
Okay. That's my only question.
Okay. Anybody else? Come on up, sir. Up.
You're actually next to that. Oh,
State your name for me.
Andrew Schultz.
Do you swear that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing?
Yes. So my question then, with the lot being subdivided, is there any plans for future use of turning anything else on that property? Or is it simply just to,
Right now, the proposal is to literally subdivide the property in half.
okay,
If anything is ever done to either of those parcels, they'd have to comply with zoning and building permits. If they need additional relief, they have to come back before this board. Right now, the only thing we're asking for is so that 818 can be 4.8 feet from the internal property line.
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Howard Salmon. I live across the street from these two properties.
Your last name again?
Salmon, S-A-L-M-O-N.
Do you swear that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we were questioning, sir, you kind of explained a lot of it tonight, which is why we're here.
Sure.
We do live across the street. So we're worried about parking in that area because there's 2 cars for the people in the back, there's 4 for the people in the front. So we weren't sure if you guys were putting a driveway in there with the 4.8 feet you guys are looking for on the letter we received.
Yeah, no, there's no changes to the parking situation at all. Really, the only thing you're seeing as part of this proposal is that line creating it 2 separate. The property is gonna be operated the same way that it's
And right
always been.
now, it's one.
It's 1, and we're making it
Cutting it in half.
cutting in half so that it's 2. That way they have their own parcel numbers.
Changing, no
Other,
adding.
other than those minor
Taking that
things,
stuff
the
away.
fence and the shed, the concrete walkway and patio, that's all that's all it is.
Okay. Are they planning on adding to the little house in the back, whether it be up,
It-
with more people, I guess?
It-
It's a small house, I saw.
So
that.
they may do something there. It's not part of the proposal right
Okay.
now, but like things like adding size has to comply with the zoning ordinance, adding people has to comply with the zoning
Okay.
ordinance, so it'd have to go through an approval process. We're not asking for anything in that regard for
Okay.
tonight.
So just a split down the middle?
Just literally the split down the middle, yep.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
does anybody, do you live in this house, or is it they both being rented?
No, sir, both of the single-family homes were rented to separate families.
All right. Anybody else from the audience? Come on up.
Hi, Catherine. Your name? Catherine Schultz.
Do you swear that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So my question is there any requirement for a property to have a driveway in any of the sections that we're talking about, like our area specifically?
There is some lots that are considered non-conforming that have stone driveways, but if it's a new construction build, they are required to have a driveway.
But an old one would not have the requirement? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was just our concern about the parking situation's a little difficult right now.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody from the board? All right, I need a motion.
I'll give a motion for it.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Eileen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, number 3 on the agenda. Alberto Velasquez, 5709 Beaver Dam Road, Bristol. Please come on up.
Hello. Alberto Velasquez?
Make sure that green light's on, Alberto.
Yeah, it's on.
Do you swear that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Do you have your notices, your mail-ins?
Yeah. What do you want to see? One of them was mailed, so I have the return and everything.
You have proof that the house was posted?
A picture of it.
All right. Yeah, I'll take it. Let me take a look at it. Thank you. We're good, Jim.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Well, as far as what this is my first time, so bear with me, please. I don't know if you know what I'm thinking, but I kind of built a shed for my dogs, and I'm a little too close to the property line. I thought it was supposed to be 3 feet all the way around, but they're saying it might not be. It's supposed to be a little bit further, so I'm just asking for that space. And then Carla said because I do park, it's all in my yard, and I do park in the backyard in the grass. So she was like, she said I have to get gravel put down or something like that. So I just want to rectify everything. I had that fine gentleman come and tell me what I was doing wrong and everything. So I was just trying to rectify everything. Oh, and the fence, because for the dogs, I have a 6-foot fence all the way around. But where I have my dogs, I kind of went a little higher because I know my one neighbor, she don't like dogs. So I was like, between that and the homeless people in the back there that are giving us issues, I was like, I would love to just do just that back area a little taller. But I mean, whatever you guys could work with me on, to be honest. You can't even see it from the street, like the height of it, you know.
So you did all this stuff without permits?
Kinda, yeah. I did the fence. The fence was I have the fence originally up. I just added that like an additional fence inside of it. Right. So I don't know if that can continue to the old permit, but what happened with the dog thing was like.
The answer to that question is yes, Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? All right, thank you.
Oh, he was getting there, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to, The dog thing was just like, as I started building, I was just trying to improve it and try to make it as nice for them as possible, so.
It's the first time for me for a dog house. Right?
I mean, he's seen it, you know what I mean? So, and they even had the ASPCA come out. They came out, they looked at it. I thought they maybe would've sent a report to you guys or something, but she had no problem with it. She was like, man, this is what we got.
So how much higher is it's an 8-foot fence?
Like 7.5, Jim.
It's only a couple sections, is that correct?
The back, it's like 4 panels, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple pounds, yeah.
Okay. Is that all you got?
And with me, yeah, and just, I'm gonna clean it, cause she told me to clean everything up, I started doing all of that, so I'm just trying to, you know.
All right. You want me to say it, don't you?
You gotta say it.
That's your role here, Jim.
Don't beat me too bad.
Need permits for everything, all right?
Okay, I don't mind getting a
Everybody,
permit,
you know,
I don't mind that, I don't mind
Everybody
that.
out there on YouTube and watching at home, need permits for everything. If you
Yeah.
don't think you need a permit, call the township. They'll
Yeah, well,
let you know
since
if
this,
you
I
want or not.
realized, like, I started reading all the ordinance, so I'm learning a lot
be
now.
happy to answer any of your questions.
You know, it is, it's like, I'm just there, I do things I do, and then I stop, and then, but I did it nice and everything, so, you know, it's just, now I just gotta get everything right. As long as, you know, he knows I'm a pain in the butt.
Okay.
So, it's for the dogs, it's for the dogs.
Yeah, listen, dogs, chickens, we've had it all here. So. Cats, last month was the cat, you weren't here for the cat factory, were you?
But can I ask one thing, though? Like, if you're gonna, for the fence, right, since I'm here, I'm gonna ask, if you tell me if it's just that one wall, or, because it's my main neighbor's shop, I just don't want her to be comfortable, but, I was thinking of going across, on the other side, like the back side, but if I'm asking for too much, just tell me. Only because of the homeless people that be coming, because I know they cleaned it up, but, I mean, we're there, and we're seeing a little bit of movement. And they already stole stuff from me, so that's why I was like,
Well, I think he's here for the original stuff that he didn't get permitted for.
Correct.
So
Well,
he can't go any further with any fencing or anything
Oh,
until you
okay.
unless you wanna go and get a permit to put more 8-foot fence up or 7.5-foot fence. This is for,
just the dog thing.
Yeah.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
no, all right,
Yeah.
I'll ask you later. So, all right, so let's just go with the dog thing, I don't.
okay. With that being said, questions from the board? Anybody?
I just have one question for Bob. The notice of violation, has that all been taken care of?
For the most part, yeah, Jim, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Working without permits is one of it, but yes, yes.
The answer is yes. Anybody else from the board? Gerard, comments, concerns?
No, I understand why you put the fence on the one side for the neighbor, but everything looked good to me from the street.
Eileen?
I have a quick question. How many dogs do you have?
We have 4.
4, do you have a kennel license then?
No, I own 2, he owns 2.
But
We need a kennel.
If you have 3, possibly it's 4, you would need to go through
When
the
I
state.
don't mind getting the kennel license, but when I was reading on the ordinance, it said that I seen 6, I don't know if I was right, and then somebody else,
Different.
then somebody told me it was 5. So, I mean, I don't mind getting the kennel license, because I already started, like, not that I wanna have like 50 dogs, to be honest with you, but it's just, I was like, do I need it because of the difference? But when I looked and read, I thought it said 5 or 6 dogs, and they're all like, everybody's licensed and everything, so, just in case you know that one.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? Okay, you done with your presentation? I'm gonna bring some people up from the audience. Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against this project?
No, my neighbors love us.
Okay.
They stayed home.
Bob, anything to add? So, on the condition of the gravel's not in play here.
He's within his impervious, so that he's not over, he wouldn't need a variance for it.
Okay, all right. So, do we need to make conditions that he has to have that done, or no?
Was that for the car parking, you mean?
Yeah, because I'm confused. Do I need, well, I guess that's a side question.
Correct.
Do I need gravel to park on my grass and when I'm in my yard sometimes?
You will, yes. But
All
you
right,
already
so-
have, you have a permit in for that already. So you're just here for the dog kennel today.
The dog kennel thing? Oh, so I could just put the permit, put the permit for the gravel? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Only reason I'm asking, because on the bottom of his application it has shed position, fence height, and general cover, or gravel covering.
It's a note, but he doesn't have the
Okay.
variance
All right.
section in it.
I was under the impression that I had to just like kind of list everything that I know I had to get right.
That's why I asked.
Pertaining to the notice of violation, that's why
Okay,
we put the.
all right. So we don't need a condition on the gravel. He's already got a permit for that. Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll put a motion for it.
I need a second.
No, what's your question,
Oh,
as far as the sewer on that? Is that everything okay with that, or does it have to get checked?
well, usually Colleen asked that question.
He
and she
doesn't
didn't
have
ask
a,
the question.
there's no plumbing connected to the
okay.
shed. He fills the dog's bowls up with the garden hose, so.
A second.
Okay, we got a second. Call the board.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck, guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Keep getting them
Appreciate it.
permits.
Yes.
Permits, yes, please. Okay, number 4 on the agenda, Jack Hogthor? 1105 Thistle Street, Bristol.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Sorry, I got two different things in here for PennDOT and this
You
stuff.
have your proof of mailings. Read me note to the solicitor, please.
You have proof the property was posted? Yeah. Okay. All right. You bring it up when you have a chance. Yes.
Go ahead.
Sir, you handed up the green cards. Did you send these addresses, the
Yes,
form
sir.
letter the township gave you?
Only one person replied.
Okay, great. And you're gonna hand me up a picture showing the property was
Yes,
posted?
as soon as I find it. I have 'em. I just don't know where they're at.
Take your time. Bob, apparently we're not on TV. We're getting last month's meeting is being televised. Yeah, I got text message.
So somebody's watching?
Yeah, I got fans. Ed.
And this was posted 2 weeks prior to tonight's meeting? Okay. Do you know the date that was posted?
The day I picked up all the paperwork from the township.
Gotcha. Okay.
Same day I sent the letters out too.
Okay, I'll get the date from the township then.
If you look at the receipts for the letters.
Yes.
it's the same receipt that I took from.
Got it. Thank you. We're good.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I used the property next to me that I bought about 30 years ago or so. I started out with my own 2 campers, and over the years, my kids have grown up, they bought their campers, and they've been putting them on my property. I maintained the property even before I owned it. PennDOT had bought all the properties in my area to run 95 through there, and then they wound up not putting it through. So the property was like really run down. I maintained that property, and then I started using the property, and I bought my house in '79, and I bought this property in '98, and I've been using it to store my campers since then. I do not let it get run down either. I constantly mow, you know, move the campers around. I don't really know how much more I can tell you. I was originally told that I needed stone under the campers, and I said, no problem, I'll get a load of stone and put it under the campers, and I was told not to do it. I had to come and, get a zoning, to come to the zoning meeting to, take care of that problem. And I'm more than willing to do whatever you tell me I have to do. It'd be a hardship on my kids, because it's all family that's parked on there. I have 6 kids, 22 grandkids, and we all use these campers to go camping. That's all we do for our vacations.
All right, Bob, let's hear it.
What would you like to hear? So he purchased the property, and the principal use of it now is mainly trailer storage.
Right.
So that's where the zoning would come in. He needs that approved. It's not like he has a single-family residence there and he's storing his camper in his driveway. This is the sole principal use of that property. So that's why he's in front of the board tonight.
Okay. So it can be used for this as long as it gets this variance.
We don't have a use like this for the township, so this would be the first
Ooh, wow.
in a residential area for trailer storage.
I live on a dead-end street. No one comes back that way. The next street over is a dead-end street. Nobody comes back there. It don't bother anybody. It has its own separate, entrance.
Nobody's living in any of these campers,
No,
correct?
they're all registered and insured. No one lives in them. If you have to go by and one's open, it's like mine right now is open because I'm unloading, and we went camping for 14 days and it put a lot of stuff in that camper.
Okay, go ahead, anybody?
I have one question. So where's the entrance, the private entrance for the trailers, in the back, or is it in the front?
It's actually on the side where Thistle Street stops.
Right.
The entrance is right there.
Okay, it's hard to see the Google Maps because of the trees.
I got a question for Jack. Is there 6 trailers there?
Yes. I have a pop-up there. My grandson, he bought a new camper and left his pop-up there, and I told him I had to get rid of it. And I actually told him that last week, I told him he had to get rid of it, or, you know, I was gonna junk it on him, and he told me, do whatever I wanna do with it. So I'll eventually get rid of it.
I see you maintain this perfectly. I was over there, I looked at it, the grass is beautiful, everything looks good. But there's 6 trailers in a residential area, which is a dead-end street, backs up to, I think, 13.
Yes.
How do you turn them around? I couldn't even turn my car around.
It's not easy. But, we do it.
Well, they're lined up nice.
You back down, and my sons and all of them, they back down and park it, and then pull it out when they have to. I've turned, I have a 29-footer, and I've turned my trailer around in that field.
All 6 of these are your children's?
Yes. Not my children's, no.
Other friends?
I have a grandson and have
Oh.
one real close friend that I consider him family. I've known him so long.
And you're not doing this for money?
No, sir. I do not collect. My kids would kill me.
So where'd the stone come in? Who told you about the stone?
Kevin. I found, what's Kevin's last name?
I think what happened, they thought that this parcel connected to the residential property, and then they said, apply for a permit to park the trailer there and get a stone driveway.
Right.
But then they found out it's a separate parcel.
Okay.
I have a question for our solicitor. If we were to vote on this, and once he sells the property, or it leaves his name, it has to go back to regular, is that possible?
Yeah, so that would be a reasonable condition that you could attach to this. You can approve it, if that's what the board wanted to do, you can approve it, and then condition upon selling of the property, then it reverts back, or that, this variance that you're granting, could expire.
expire when he sells it.
Selling the property, correct.
With the selling, okay.
That won't expire.
Would you agree to that condition?
Yes, sir. I'll probably be underground when it happens, but
What's that?
Would that also be stipulated if you were transferred to a family member?
No, I'll change names, nope.
Like, and he bequeaths the property to his grandson.
Yes, so,
Any ownership change.
yes. So you could, that'd also be considered a reasonable condition, that if there's a transfer of the property, that the use that you could grant tonight would also expire.
Or transfer of the property.
I have a question. If I did transfer my property, you saying that this variance would expire and they would have to come back?
Absolutely right.
I think that if I transferred the property, the campers would be gone. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and
Right.
if that happens, I'll make sure that.
We just don't want somebody to turn this into a parking lot
No, it
in
ain't
a
gonna-
residential area.
yeah. I
Bob, do you have
understand.
something to add?
Totally up to the board, but it might be beneficial to condition that it can't be used as a rental lot also, if the board was to vote in favor of approval.
And no more than,
6.
everybody fine with 6? If we were to pass this? Okay. You're. There's a lot, yes. Of course, no residing in the campers as well.
Definitely
Okay.
wouldn't. I wouldn't allow that.
All right. Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against this project? Or application, I'm sorry. Okay. So, on the motion, on the conditions, reasonable condition, sale or transfer of property, reverts back, right? 6 max trailers, and what was the,
No rental,
no, right, no,
no renting the property out for storage.
or no residing on the property, in the trailers. Okay, that's what we have on the table. So- Go ahead.
Bob, would they also then need to put stone down if this is approved?
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board, for or against?
I'd like to try this one. I want to put a motion for it in the condition that if, once he sells it, it goes back to the regular condition. No more than 6 campers. You can't rent any space out on the property. Nobody could live in any of the RVs or campers. And you must stone the property for the campers' storage. And I put a motion for it if, under those conditions.
I have one little question too. If I have to put stone down, am I gonna have to, have a time limit on that? Because I'm retired and I just paid the taxes. I paid $1,000 to be here tonight. My truck
What
broke down.
do you think's a
cost me-
reasonable amount of time for you?
I would say maybe 3 months.
Everybody fine with 3 months? I was
Yeah,
gonna-
okay,
I
I'd
was
like to
probably gonna
add,
give you 6, but 3 months.
yeah, let's do
You wanna give me
6.
6?
No.
All right, let's do
It'd
3
be
months.
easy on my pocket.
We'll add on there 3 months to that condition.
We can have a meeting on that also, if you wanna come up to the township building,
When?
to discuss moving forward with stoning the property and how the process works.
Okay,
So that's my motion.
so I have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second as long as we can add transfer of property as well.
Sale or
Gerard-
transfer of
yeah,
property.
Gerard only said sale,
That's, okay.
so I'll second with
Okay.
adding that other condition.
All right, so we're gonna have to change the original motion then.
Want me to change it?
Okay, do you agree to that condition?
Yes, I agree to that.
Okay, so I got a motion, I got a second. Call the board.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
There you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, number 5. Jamie Horberger, Spitzkoff, 50B Woodside Avenue. I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
I'm just finding a picture of the poster I have in the window. I took these pictures today, but it's been there since the 29th
Of July, so
of
it's 2
July.
weeks. Okay.
All right.
I do. Thank you. So what we are doing is we have an existing detached 2-car garage that we're looking to convert into a pool house and add an office space. My husband permanently works from home, so an office space, a bathroom, and like a rec room, like a game room. That's basically it.
Is this already existing?
It is.
I'm sorry, could you state that one more time?
Oh, sure. We have a 2-car garage, and right now it's a garage. It's an empty garage. We're looking to redo the inside of it to be like an office space for work from home, a bathroom for the pool, so people don't have to come into the house to use the bathroom. And there'll be like a rec room space, like a game area or like a sofa, just like a hangout space.
There's no sleeping in this?
No.
I thought I seen an apartment on here.
Yeah, on the applications that we received and on this zoning hearing board application, it is saying pool house / living space.
Yeah, I mean, no, nobody's gonna physically live in it, but
Okay.
Well, that's what it says on here. That's what we're going by.
So you're converting a 2-bay garage and just putting a bathroom in there and a
it'll
hangout?
be a bathroom. On the plans that you probably have, there's like a, not quite a kitchen. It'll be like a sink and cabinets. There wouldn't be a stove or anything in there. The office space, and then just like a, I think he has it on the plans as like a game room. I would assume we'd probably have like a sofa in there, maybe a TV.
Okay.
I mean, under the parameters she's stating, it wouldn't be an accessory apartment, Jim, if they're not gonna occupy it. I mean, if it's a garage and they're just putting a bathroom in there, that could be done with building permits.
Right.
So this.
So just
variance-
need it.
No, the variance wouldn't be needed tonight. But if there is gonna be occupancy overnight sleeping, then that would be considered an accessory apartment.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that. It looks like it's just what they're saying.
I mean, I'm sure like maybe my nieces might like camp out there like overnight, but nobody's gonna be physically like living in it. Sorry.
Whoops.
They're too young to live out there by themselves.
There you go. Good answer.
I'm comfortable enough to say that this could be handled with building permits, and if there's anything questionable, we'll make that correction when we're out there.
Okay, sounds great to me.
Okay.
All right,
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. What do you got, Keith? Hey, man.
Huh? We have to vote on that?
Okay. All right. Bob, Keith stated we're gonna have to make some final resolution here, either withdraw it or, okay?
It's just a legality.
Yeah. All right. So, we're gonna have to withdraw the application to finalize this, so we're gonna need a motion to withdraw.
And if she can put on the record, Keith, that no one will be occupying the structure?
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, I think the best course of action is for the applicant to withdraw her application. However, before she does that, she'll state on the record that there'll be no residing in this structure. So it's on the record, and she's on the road.
Okay, no, nobody will be residing in there.
And you're withdrawing your application.
Yes, if that's the best practice.
All right, that's all we needed for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Bryce, you're up.
Good afternoon, Board. So that last one looked fun, so I'm going to do the same thing if it hasn't already been done with item number 6, 1415 Hardy Street LLC. We will be withdrawing that application.
Okay,
Perfect.
move on to number 7.
Moving on, number 7, have something here. Give me one.
You may proceed.
All right. Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant, Third Construction, Inc., the owner of the vacant property that is technically addressed as Nebraska Street, but has no frontage on Nebraska Street, and rather fronts Avenue E. By way of background, the property is a shade over 3 acres in size and is located within the M1 light manufacturing district. The property is currently vacant, and it sits just beyond the cul-de-sac that ends Nebraska Ave. And like I said, it basically, Avenue E dead ends to this 3-acre property. Avenue E obviously is part of a residential neighborhood, single-family homes all around. So to that end, it didn't really make much sense for us to put a by-right warehouse on the property and have trucks driving down Avenue E to reach a manufacturing facility or a warehousing facility. So what we've decided to do is to pursue a 10-unit residential subdivision that would be single-family homes on this property. Bob, could you go to the next page for me? Oh, thank you very much. So what our plan is, if you'll take a look, and I'll have our engineer, Larry Young, go through it in a little bit more detail in a moment. But what our plan is to extend Avenue E into the site, have a large turnaround area that would accommodate not only standard traffic, because right now there's literally a dead end, no place to turn around apart from residential driveways, but it will also accommodate emergency services, trash pickup, deliveries, that sort of thing. And then there'll be 5 units on each side of the newly expanded Avenue E. We'll also have a large stormwater management basin here on the property, which will then drain into the creek to the rear. So it seems like a rather simple, straightforward project, but there's a couple issues. The first is that single-family homes are, unsurprisingly, not a permitted use in the M1 manufacturing district. So because of that, we would need variances related to not only the use, but also dimensionally, because otherwise we have to comply with light industrial zoning and dimensional requirements, larger lot sizes, larger lot widths, larger setbacks, that sort of thing. So we need a number of variances as a result of the dimensional requirements within the M1 district. But secondly, while I mentioned earlier that the property is largely vacant, it is largely vacant except for natural resources. Pretty much the entire property is either woodlands, slopes, or a creek and the surrounding bit of floodplain. So because of that, we're going to need some relief in order to disturb portions of the woodlands as well as portions of the steep slopes on site. So specifically, we are asking for the following relief. There's going to be 8 variances here. It sounds like a lot, but as we explain them, as I'm going to go through them with Larry, it'll make a little bit more sense and seem a little bit more fitting for what we're trying to do. So the first variance is a use variance to allow single-family homes that are otherwise not permitted on an M1 zone property. Second is we're requesting minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet instead of 10,000 square feet. And the reason why we're looking at 5,000 is because we've designed all of these homes to mirror the requirements of the R3 residential zoning district. So we're asking for variances for a lot area of about 5,000 square feet per home, lot width of 50 feet instead of 100, which is otherwise required in the M1. And then for setbacks, front yard of 25, rear yard of 25, and then side yards aggregate 14 feet. And again, these are R3 standards that we're requesting here on this property. And one of the reasons why we're looking for R3 is just because of the location of the property. You know, you have a very, very large manufacturing community right above us. You have an Interstate 95 literally right down the side. And in full disclosure, initially, we were looking for a 12-unit subdivision. What we're decided to do in order to make sure this works is we remove 2 of the units and build a larger potential stormwater retention basin here on site in order to make sure that, again, there won't be any stormwater management concerns for the area. So again, first variance is a use variance to allow single-family homes. Number 2 is lot area of 5,000 square feet. 3, lot width of 50 feet. 4, front yard setback of 25 instead of 30. 5, side yard setbacks, 6 feet individual, 14 feet aggregate. 6, rear yard setback of 20 feet where 30 feet is otherwise required. The last 2 variances relate to the natural resources. Now again, we are not disturbing the creek to the top of the property or the floodplain that is associated with that creek, but we do need relief. Obviously, we're not doing that. But we do need relief for woodlands and steep slopes. Specifically, we are seeking to disturb 60% of the steep slopes where you otherwise have to protect 85, and with respect to woodlands, 85% disturbance where you otherwise have to protect 50%. So again, these variances do seem like quite a bit of relief, we will admit. However, again, the purpose of it is to make sure that there is not a by right manufacturing facility on this property where trucks drive through this residential neighborhood day and night. We don't want that. We don't think it's appropriate. We don't think the neighbors want that. So instead, we're trying to add some single-family homes to a neighborhood that already features single-family homes and is already a somewhat dense neighborhood. So we think this would be a nice addition to the neighborhood. So with that, I have a few people with me tonight I'd like to introduce. First, we have the engineer on the project, Larry Young from Tri-State. I'm going to bring Larry Young up here in a moment to answer some questions. We also have Dominic Chilberti, who's the owner of Third Construction Incorporated, and Don will be around to answer questions if the board sees fit. But unless there's any preliminary questions, I'd like to bring up Larry.
I do.
Testing? There we go. All right. Larry, do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the board. Tell them where you work.
Larry Young. I'm a licensed engineer. I work for Tri-State Engineers.
If the board would like me, I'd be more than happy to go through Larry's resume in great detail.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. That's good to hear. All right. Larry, you and your office designed the plans that the board has performed tonight. Is that right?
Yes.
Why don't you do me a favor, do the board a favor, and go through it a little bit and explain exactly what we're looking at.
Basically, we laid this plan out just projecting the existing road through the site. That's why the lots up on the upper side, upslope, are a little smaller than the ones down below. The ones down below have a resource protection. There's floodplain right there, and we're not touching any of the woodlands through the floodplain. So all the natural resources from that tree line back are being protected. The houses are narrow and longer in size. They do all have decks out back. And like Bryce said, we looked quite a bit into the stormwater to make sure that the concept would work, because this all falls from the bottom of the plan to the top of the plan towards the creek. So we have a quite large basin that will accommodate the stormwater from all these houses.
Now, from an engineering standpoint, is there any reason why, you heard me go through, and obviously you just went through with the board a little bit, that there are a number of resources on site. Is there any reason from an engineering standpoint why this plan doesn't work, why this would be challenging or for the area?
No, basically whether you put something like a warehouse with parking, things like that, they would all, most things that would go on this lot would need to disturb those resource protections.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the variances here, the way I would generally group them, you have the dimensional variances that are otherwise required as part of the use for the property as residential housing. Then you also have the resource protection sort of requests. Would that be a fair sort of way to categorize these variances?
Yeah, all the dimensional have to do with the lot sizes because it is in an M1 zone.
So because of that, we're obviously subject to the M1 requirements, whether that's lot area, width, setbacks. And that's basically the one group of variances we're requesting is instead of M1, we're basically asking for the R3 standard. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And can you just, in terms of some of the requests for relief, obviously the lot is somewhat compressed because of the fact that there's the floodplain to the top of that drawing. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And that's one of the reasons why we need some of this additional relief. Is that right?
Correct.
And also the fact that we're losing quite a bit of square footage on the property to accommodate not only stormwater management, but also the extension of Avenue E. Is that right?
Correct.
Is there any reason from an engineering standpoint why modifying the dimensional relief from an M1 district to basically what would otherwise be R3? Is there any reason from an engineering standpoint why that doesn't work here on the property?
No.
Now, moving on, let's discuss the natural resources. Can you explain exactly what we're requesting in terms of relief, what we're requesting to disturb, and what we're, more importantly, attempting to protect?
Bob, can you go back to slide 1? The steep slopes are in blue and kind of a tan color. You can see this finger that reaches up. That is where we need the steep slope variances for the two categories, over 25% and the 15 to 25%. All these will remain intact because here again, this is the floodplain back here, so we're not touching any of that. One of the other variances that we need is woodland disturbance. So we're protecting all the woodlands that provide screening for the floodplain and things like that. But up here, Bob, can you go back to 2? So from here back, that's where we're disturbing the woodlands right here. Obviously to put the road in, put the houses in, but back here, there are steep slopes. They're not classified as steep slopes in your ordinance, but we do have to catch up to the existing contours before we hit the floodplain.
And I think, like you mentioned, any use on this property would have to face the same hurdles involving natural resources. Is that right?
That's correct.
So in terms of this particular set of relief, is this the minimum that we would need in order to reasonably use the property?
Yes.
All right. Now, just a couple other quick questions I want to confirm for anyone in the audience who is a resident of the neighborhood. With respect to access, the only access that this property has to any road is through Avenue E. Is that right?
Correct.
So even if we weren't trying to do a residential subdivision, if we were trying to do a warehouse, the only access for those trucks and anyone coming to or from any deliveries would be through Avenue E, is that right?
Correct.
And through the neighborhood Avenue.
There's a 90-degree bend, probably at 300 or 400 feet down the road. It would be hard to negotiate with trucks.
Sure, and also, if this project moves forward, there will not be any access through Nebraska, is that right?
That is correct.
So.
The stream's in between.
Could be a bit of an issue for trucks, is that right?
Yep.
All right, so the neighbors don't have to worry about any trucks coming and going unless somebody's moving in, somebody's moving out, or we're getting a delivery, is that right?
Right.
And as it stands right now, I believe you mentioned it earlier, Avenue E just dead ends right where our property begins, is that correct?
Correct.
So no turnaround, nothing like that?
Nope.
So what we're doing in terms of the expansion will actually help a current situation where vehicles, whether it's trash trucks, local deliveries, emergency services, aren't really able to turn around there unless they come into somebody's driveway to turn around. Is that right?
That's correct.
So from an engineering standpoint, is there any reason that you see why this project would be detrimental to the community or to the township?
No.
All right. And obviously, as part of this process, even if we receive any approvals here tonight, we would have to go through a subdivision process. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but during a subdivision process, we have to submit plans to the township to be reviewed not only by township personnel and township professionals, township engineer, township traffic engineer, to make sure that everything that we're saying today checks out. Is that right?
That is correct.
And
outside agencies.
Of course. So you can sit here and say with confidence that the applicant understands this, and the applicant will obviously work with the township and any other outside agencies to make sure that this project works not only from a functional and legal perspective, but for the community, correct?
Correct.
All right. The board has any questions, we'll be happy to address those.
As far as the woodlands go, the disturbing of the woodlands, is there any way they can be replaced somewhere on the property, or?
Well, obviously, we'll need street trees as part of the subdivision plan. There is some of the backyards, once it's regraded, we could probably plant more trees back there.
Okay. All right. Just curious.
All right.
Thank you.
You mind if I just touch on something I neglected earlier?
Right.
Larry, I'm sorry to be a little out of order here. You just obviously pointed there's a few other variances that we need involving bufferings and net site disturbance. Is that right?
Correct.
Just do me a favor and go through those with the board because I believe I neglected to mention those.
There's two buffer variances that we need. The ordinance requires a 30-foot buffer anywhere you're adjacent to an industrial use. So over here, there's an industrial use, and this lot is zoned industrial back here, even though it's vacant. Also, the second buffer is when you're along a expressway, which is 95. So we're asking for the buffers along here, here, and here. Obviously, this site is vacant. There's no houses right here that we're proposing. This site over here has more than about 70 feet before you hit the actual use, the parking area and the industrial use itself. So that was the two other buffer requirements. And the last one is has to do with site capacity calculations, and automatically when you need variances for woodlands and steep slopes, your net buildable area, you can't obtain that because you're asking for relief on something that shrinks down your site. So that goes in hand with the variances for steep slopes and woodland disturbance.
And that's also because we have nearly 3 acres of otherwise classified resources on the site, correct?
Correct.
All right, and just to clarify too, while we're requesting certain relief from buffering, we are going to keep, obviously, everything above here, like you referenced, that's above the current, or located beyond the floodplain. We're keeping that, whether that's floodplain, woodlands, that will remain as a partial buffer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Apologies for going out of order there.
So just for clarity, that, the buffering's part of the woodlands variance, or?
It's its own thing. It's a separate variance request.
Is that part, originally part of the application? Okay, all right.
We wrote the application correctly. I just unfortunately glossed over a few issues. Glad that Larry's here, though, to clear it up.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Good? You good? Done?
If the board would like to hear from the applicant, we'd be more than happy to present that testimony. However, at this point, we believe that the majority of issues here are engineering in nature, so we would rest on Larry's testimony and the.
Pleasure of the board. Would they like to hear from the applicant?
No.
I think we got enough
Enough info, everybody? Good? Okay.
And obviously, if there's any public comment, the applicant would be more than happy to address that too. But, we'll wait to hear if any neighbors have any specific questions.
All right. Bob, anything to add? Okay. No questions from the board. All right. Audience, please come on up.
Harry Moore, 2815. I live adjacent to the property, back toward the floodplain. Oh. I do. So we live there, my in-laws live there their whole entire life, right? The floodplain is a floodplain. It floods every time it rains, comes almost all the way up to our backyard. All the water funnels from that industrial park down to that creek. It funnels through them woods to that creek, and then it makes its way to the Neshaminy Creek through the neighborhood. One of the concerns is clearing them trees that are absorbing that water is going to contribute to the floodplain, right? Where they have their retention pond currently is it's on the high side of the hill. No water is running down to that pond. There's already a retention pond there that they put in when they built the highway. It's still doing nothing. The flooding has gotten worse. As far as the 5 houses on this side, they're obviously going to be backed up to an industrial park, right to the fence, which is a chemical plant, which at some point in time had blown up in the late 90s, early 2000s. So that should be a concern for them 5 houses there, right? The 5 houses on the other side, their backyards will be in the floodplain. As far as turning that into a warehouse or putting a warehouse there, you can't even get an Amazon van down the road, let alone a tractor trailer, right? So now we're saying we're gonna send another 10 houses there, another 20 vehicles. Like, what is the traffic impact to the road? Now, is it nice to have a cul-de-sac at the end? Yes. Everybody turns around in my driveway, or one of my driveways currently. But there's deer back there, there's foxes back there, there's hawks back there, there's owls back there, there's frogs back there, there's all kind of stuff back there for an environmental impact that would need to be looked at. And the other thing that I have the problem with is the road is coming in on Avenue E. There was no notice given to any of the neighbors on Avenue E. And they're not coming through Nebraska because they cannot bring the trucks or cars through a floodplain. So that is the concern of the neighbors in the neighborhood.
Would you like to address his concerns?
Sure, and I think Larry will chip in a moment, but no, we understand, obviously, when you're close to a floodplain, there's potential flooding issues, and that's one of the things that we're aware of. And if we even receive any approvals today, we're going to have to go through a subdivision process where the township engineer will review our plans to make sure that not only are we not making the issue worse, we actually have to make it better. And if we can't do that, it doesn't matter what this board does tonight, we can't put a single shovel in the ground. But right now what you have is there's really no improvements here. You have trees, but water just flows freely down. What we're obligated to do with respect to this basin is to catch enough water so that way it will offset, even more than offset, some of the impervious and some of the other improvements we're making. So right now, water just flows free. It's our responsibility to catch it and keep it for a certain amount of time. and perhaps Larry can provide a little bit more detail as to what we're generally talking about at this stage. And again, we know that we're gonna have to design this to a T and get the township to
I just
approve
don't
it.
know how you catch it on the high side.
Well,
Well, here's, this is a 2D plan, it's not 3D. The floodplain is right here, and that's based off a study that FEMA did, okay? It's based off of elevations, and we're on the same elevations as the floodplain. So this part of the lot does not flood, okay? This basin was purposely enlarged so that we could let out a slower or smaller amount of water over a longer time. Now, this basin is dug probably 6 feet down, and it almost, the bottom of it is almost at the same invert as that stream where the floodplain is, right here. That's the elevation, that's how far down the basin goes. So we're going to intercept all this water across the back of this lot and put it in the basin.
But what is the natural pitch of the land? It's this way, right?
It's
How
this
you
way.
catching it back to the highway?
It's this way.
But then where's that water run? I got video. I got
You're
video
gonna,
of
you're gonna have
that
to talk on
water
the
running
microphone,
through the field
sir.
out back.
You gotta go down the microphone.
I have video of the water naturally wanting to run down through that stream, down through the field that Chester owns behind me. So the natural flow of the water is not this way. The natural flow of the water is down and this way, because it makes its way to the Neshaminy Creek. So the drainage from them 5 houses could never go back that way. It's always gonna go down and that way.
No, I didn't say the stream ran this way. The stream drains this way towards the Neshaminy Creek.
But how are you
There
catching the
is an
water?
out, there is an, we're catching the water by putting pipes behind these houses, and it's gonna convey the flow
Back that way.
back to this basin that's very deep, and it's going to discharge back into the stream. And it's also going to infiltrate some of the water into the ground. But there will be an outlet to this basin which discharges back into the stream and goes this way. And we have to meet the stormwater ordinance for the township.
Well, who looks at Chester's Creek behind his house and how wide that is and how much water that can take to filter that water without causing additional flooding in the flood zone behind our houses to make it into Neshaminy Creek?
The township has a stormwater ordinance, so the township engineer will review it for compliance with that ordinance. We have to get an MPDES permit through the state. They'll look at the stormwater. So you have two different agencies at that point looking at what effect our stormwater has on the watershed.
And, you know, a lot of the houses that are already in the neighborhood, you know, a lot of them, you don't need me to tell you, they were built a while ago, back before a lot of these ordinances were in existence and before the township and the state were so vigilant in ensuring that new construction satisfied all of these requirements. So while some of the other homes in the area might not have the type of improvements and type of stormwater management mechanisms that we're designing here, we have to. And if we can't, like I mentioned before, if we can't provide that, if we can't satisfy that, and let's say we can't, let's say the basin is too small, which it's not, but let's say it is, then guess what? We can't do 10 units. We would have to make changes, remove housing, and enlarge it. Like I said, no matter what this board does tonight, whether they grant our relief, whether they grant in part, whether they deny it, I don't know, we have to comply with all of this no matter what, or else we can't get a permit. Even if we go through most of this process 2 years down the line and we can't dot those I's and cross those T's, we can't build a single house, we can't extend the roadway, we can't do anything. So like Larry was mentioning, we've already put a lot of work into this. Larry's and his guys have already been out to the site, conducted a survey, and they've made this plan, which right now we believe it works. But again, you don't have to take our word for it. Nobody in this audience has to take our word for it, because the township will ensure that what we're telling you tonight and what we're presenting turns out to be factually accurate. And if we can't do that, then we don't get to move forward, and my clients are wasting a whole bunch of money. So I understand your concerns, and we do as well. That's one of the reasons we're here tonight. That's one of the reasons why we brought Larry to actually put all of the time and effort into these plans. And moving forward, just know that we are committed to this process. And what I will tell you is during the subdivision process, where we go through some of these issues in more detail, whether it's stormwater management, whether it's traffic issues, whether it's emergency services, because as you said, it's difficult for certain vehicles to even get through the streets. We go through all of that in far more detail, and you'll get a notice when we come before council for that final approval meeting.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's currently not bad with 15 houses on the street, but now you're talking about 25. Yeah, now we have traffic issues, right?
sure, and that's one of the reasons why, again, we have to go through that whole process, and it's not gonna take, this is zoning matter, we submitted this maybe a month and a half ago or so. Subdivision takes a while. That's a long time because we have to go through the process. We have to go through the township. We have to go through the township engineer. And you will get notice when we come back into this room and go before council. So if you would like to see those plans, and honestly, I'll be happy to give you my card. And when we submit everything, I'll be happy to send you a copy. So that way you can stay involved in the process. And if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to be in communication through the way. And again, you'll get the actual public notice because we have to provide it. So either way, just know that this does not end here. In fact, this is the beginning of a long process to make sure that a lot of these concerns you have are sufficiently addressed.
Listen, I brought my concerns. It's up to the board, right? Like, I think there's more probably questions and answers that they're gonna have to provide. Like, what is that building behind them? What is the chemical plant? What are the chemicals that they're gonna put these houses up to? You know, what is the environmental impact, which they'll have to work on, but that's completely up to you guys. There's a lot going on back there, there's a lot of changes, and it's gonna affect a lot of houses in the neighborhood.
All your concerns been?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, everybody. So, okay, Craig Bowen, 2501 Avenue B, Newportville. I do. So, full disclosure, I'm a councilman here, been on council for 12 years, so I know just about everybody. I even know the developers. I hear your concerns. One thing, I'm not going to ask the board which decision. The only thing I do not want is a warehouse back there, because the last thing I want is tractor and trailers coming down Groveland Avenue. It's not really made for that, but by right, by law, the developers don't go with the houses. We're going to have a warehouse, and I don't want that. As far as stormwater management, it's going to go through plenty of committees. We have Planning Commission, Bucks County Planning Commission, and then we have the worst of the worst is Gilmore Associates will scrub that plan. I won't be surprised if they don't put an umbrella over it. They don't allow, their engineering is brutal, and be at least here. I live in the neighborhood. I have your concerns with everything. I do not want a warehouse back there, and they could put listen, they can put a warehouse back there. They have the right to do that. Okay, I don't want to get in an argument. So, yeah, I understand his concerns. I don't want a warehouse back there, and I know enough being on council that we can move forward with a warehouse. I'd rather see homes. If it becomes where they can't control the water with the homes they have, then they're going to have to shrink the homes to make that work. So that's all I have to say. Again, I take my hat off, councilman. My hat on is neighborhood, Bristol Township, Newportville.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions from the board? Okay, let's do it. Go ahead.
All right, Bryce, is there any options of having lesser houses on that plot of land?
For right now, no, because like I said, we initially did design this to hold 12 homes. but we reduced it in order to accommodate additional stormwater management. So for right now, the 10 is the number that we're going with. That's the number that works on the property. However, if this does not actually work, whether it's from a stormwater management perspective or a traffic perspective, when we go through subdivision and land development, then obviously we will have to discuss other designs, other iterations. In other words, we have to discuss less. But right now, we've done the work, we've done the engineering, and this amount will work.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let's do it.
I'll put a motion for it.
I'll second.
All the board.
Colleen Dunn,
No.
Jim McMahon.
I do have one that, it's a silly concern, but I like the woodlands that are being I like this, some trees planted somewhere along, I mean, it sounds silly, but, is that a possibility?
On the site or perhaps?
Anywhere, in cul-de-sac, you know,
Put her
Yeah, well,
street trees in.
we'll plant trees wherever we realistically can, and obviously we'll be happy if you want to make condition that we provide a landscape plan during subdivision and land development to Gilmore for review and approval that would have additional tree plantings, perhaps whether it's along the cul-de-sac or in any of the open space.
That wouldn't be a condition you would have to put. They have to provide a landscape plan no matter what.
all right.
Well, but as part of the landscape plan, additional plantings along portions of the open space within the community.
Okay,
We'll obviously be happy to do that.
all right, then yes.
Mark DeMarcus. No. Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck, fellas.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
All right, last on the agenda is 7800 Bristol LLC, Bristol Pike. Huh?
This was continued from April. It was. Yeah. Anyway, okay, all right, because the property's already posted. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, hold on one second. Before we get started, I just want to make everybody aware that the board was made up differently when you first got here, but Mark was the only one that wasn't here, but he has read the transcript and he prepared himself, you know, for this part of the meeting. So.
Great, thank you.
All right. Just so everybody's aware, this is a continuance from April, I believe. So, okay, proceed.
My name is John Shea, here from Spring Gray, after the applicant Bristol LLC. As Mr. Chairman stated, we were here in April, presenting our application, which requests 3 forms of relief. 2 appeals from notice of violation. 1 notice of violation is for lack of use and occupancy permits for the tenants of the property. Second notice of violation
better. So at the,
He's got it.
yeah, sorry about that. At the last hearing, we presented the testimony of Roman Kluczkiewski, who is the manager of the property, and he addressed a lot of the, or all of the requests that we were making. But in addition to the 2 notices of violation, there was also property maintenance issues and nuisance issues on the property that they received the notice of violation for. And there were a lot of questions from the board about how that was being addressed. In addition to the property maintenance issues, there was also questions about additional impervious surface, which has been added to this property kind of randomly over several years. And so there's questions about how that was going to be addressed and the impact that was going to have on stormwater. So continuance was granted to permit the applicant to take further measures to remediate and address some of the property maintenance issues, and also to address or come up with a plan for stormwater and grading a land alteration permit. So we're here tonight to kind of catch you guys up for what we've done since last April. I won't go through all the testimony we went through last hearing, but I think the first person I would call would be Roman again. He's the manager of the property, and he would just be here to testify, provide some information on the efforts they've taken to address property maintenance issues.
Okay.
Roman Kluczkiewski. Klachkivski. Yes, I do.
Can you introduce yourself to the board again?
Roman Kluczkiewski.
Okay. And you are the manager of the property, correct? Okay. The applicant's been the owner of the property since September of 2021, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you catch the board up from April of this year, the efforts that you and the applicant have taken to address some of the property maintenance concerns that exist on the property?
So we've done a lot of cleanup, a lot of, we had discussions with tenants currently present to make sure enforce their regulations as far as being clean, as far as following all the rules from the township. So we actually evicted a couple of tenants for not following that. So we've done a lot of efforts to make sure that everybody follows all the restrictions, what they can do, what they cannot do on the property, as far as cleanliness, as far as not keeping any parts and so on. So we have like a 0 tolerance for not following those rules, and all that has been made clear to every tenant on the property.
Okay, so to be clear, am I correct that 2 tenants have been evicted from the property since April of this past year?
So one has been evicted already, one is in the process, and he should be leaving end of September, he said.
Okay, and it was in your opinion that those 2 tenants were responsible for a lot of the property maintenance issues that you were having on the property?
So the tenant who is leaving, his name is Gasholi, yes, he was, and he received the violation as well, violation notice from us, and yes, he's the one who was creating most of the debris and parts and so on, and we addressed with him a number of times the violations he's doing and the troubles he's causing for us. And since he was not compliant, we asked him to leave, and we gave him a formal notice to vacate.
Okay. Bob, at A19 are a couple of pictures. So are these pictures that you took today, Roman?
Yes.
Okay, and these are just different pictures of outside of the existing warehouse on the building that's used in connection with the truck terminal?
Correct.
Correct? Okay, and prior to today, back in April, was a lot of this area that we're seeing outside the building, was there a lot of outside storage of materials, truck materials, trash, debris?
Correct.
And so forth, okay. And that's been taken off the property?
Yes.
Okay. And what we're looking at here is this kind of the entrance to the property?
Correct.
Okay, and you may remember back in April, there was some concern about this was covered in some tarp and some trash as well, and so that was removed. That's what this picture's showing, is that that's been kind of taken off.
Yes.
Okay. Has 7800 Bristol also retained a civil engineer to assist with stormwater and grading issues?
That's correct.
Okay, that's Howell Engineering?
Correct.
Okay. We have Howell Engineering here, a representative, Chris Daly, who's working with the applicant. I could have him provide some testimony now about grading and stormwater issues, or we can ask, obviously, Roman some questions before we move on.
It's a pleasure to board.
Ask some questions and.
Sure.
From the engineer.
Everybody good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Keep it.
Oh, I meant from the board.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll start with some questions. If this is approved tonight, if it is, working outside on vehicles, trailers, trucks, tire mountain, whatever, we would like no working outside. Also, oil storage containers, there's any kind of storage of oil outside, waste oil, new oil, whatever oil, that can't be outside. I do want to comment on your housekeeping. You made a major difference. Need some more, but you did a real good job on cleaning the property up. I drove through several times and keeping an eye on you, and you are cleaning up. Dumpsters are being full, stuff's being taken away. The Tellytown side's still a little bit of a mess, but that's not our concern, but you manage the property. You should kind of push them a little harder. That's all I have for right now.
So I'd like to make a quick comment. So as far as keeping stuff outside, as you can see in this picture, there's nothing outside of the gate. So we made it very clear to all the tenants that they're not allowed to store anything outside of the building. So they're not allowed to have anything storing unless it's permitted by the township, so.
Storage, I said storage of oil. Like
So-
that, right there, you had a bunch of oil and it's all gone.
That's
I
correct.
think that's where it was.
So the only reason why they have an oil sometimes, because when the company who is picking up the oil comes, they need to put it outside, oh, I'm sorry, they need to put it outside for the trucks to be able to pump it out. So that's kind of the only reason why they have to put it, for the appointments.
Well, that oil was outside for a while, but yes, if they need to pick it up, as long, really, they have long hoses. They got 200-foot hoses that'll go into your building and suck it out, because they do it at my place. Oil outside's not a good idea.
Okay.
Bob, did you have something to add?
I was just gonna address that, the oil he's speaking over, the IBC totes that are in the first bay in the rear. I was out there, last Thursday or Friday, and there was about 6 or 7 still outside.
So all that's actually one of the pictures, all of that has been removed. If you flip to the pictures, I can show you which one it is.
How often does this oil get picked up? Is there a certain schedule? Is there, whenever you call and you're
It's
full?
usually by the call, I believe. I'm not familiar, but usually they call them and they make an appointment. And they try to kind of make it together so everybody gets picked up.
Normally, when the totes are full, they come out within a day, 2 days, and they suck it out.
So where should they, I'm not in, the mechanical field. Where should they be stored at? Anywhere.
If they're storing them inside, wherever they are storing them inside, they can stay there. These trucks have 200, 300 feet of hose. They just drag it out, just like you're filling your house up with oil. Same hose. They just drag it inside your building and suck them out.
And Roman, is there room in the building to put some of those?
Well, that's where they are.
Yeah.
They have to make the room, basically.
Yeah,
That's the condition. So if they want to be able to operate there, they have to make
Well,
room.
if you go back to the other picture, the one, go back one. Again. Right there, you see the oil on the ground.
So that's that's the water. It's not the oil tank.
The what?
Water. It's a water tank.
Yeah, water probably got in, overflowed, and got on the ground. That's why you don't have them outside.
He's talking about the oil stains on the ground.
No, stains, yeah. Well,
The
that's
stains.
from before or something.
Yeah, they overflow because water gets down because they don't show up one day and it rains on them. They can
Okay,
suck
so
them out of the
that's- so
building.
Condition would be the oil stored inside. Recycled oil.
Any oil.
Any oil. Okay. What else you got, Gerard?
No working outside. They'll work in the middle of the driveway. They'll work anywhere. try to keep it inside your garage, or big garages. I get it, vehicles hanging halfway out and halfway in, but, you know, to be rebuilding a trailer outside, not a good idea.
So as you can see, like in this picture, that's usually how it happens. So there's nobody that is being, you know, working outside on this area. So
Yeah.
usually it's inside, yeah.
Well, you have a lot of area.
Bob, do you make scheduled visits to this business, or just?
We visit the property frequently. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he made
Well,
it,
any conditions that we make here, and he agrees to, we agree to this application, it more or less will be policed pretty frequently.
Yep.
Okay.
And,
you
and
made
we
a
are fine
big
with that,
difference.
because, I mean, we 100% agree to complying with
Yeah, no.
whatever requirements are.
Trying to get all the logistics worked out here, you know, I'm trying, believe it or not, trying to help, all right? So,
and I do believe you want to make a difference, you know, I see it. You know, just got to push it a little bit more.
And I think I would know, and Bob might be able to back me up on it, when our office was first retained, I mean, there were reports Bob had of drivers sleeping, like sleeping on the property and going to the bathroom outside, and so since Roman's kind of stepped in, a lot of that stuff has, you know, ceased, and so we're continuing, like now getting the oil storage inside, and
definitely been an ongoing process.
yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're trying to get to a good
Yeah,
place.
absolutely.
All right, is that all you have, or?
Well, you guys had some concerns about grading and stormwater, so Chris Daly's from Howell Engineering, he could touch on
Anybody
that.
want to hear about the grading from the
I
engineer? Bring him up.
I do.
All right, Chris, can you just introduce yourself to the board, let them know how you're employed and where you work?
Sure, I'm Chris Daly. I'm a professional engineer at the state of Pennsylvania, and I work for Howell Engineering.
Howell Engineering was retained by 7800 Bristol to address stormwater and grading issues on the property?
That's correct.
Okay, and have you or others from your team been out to inspect the property?
Yes.
Okay. Have you prepared surveys and different plans of the property?
Yes, we did. We performed a field survey of the property. We also had a wetland delineation done, verified there's no wetlands on the property, and we also put together this conceptual plan that's shown on the projector.
Okay, and so could you just explain what this conceptual plan is and kind of what the goal is here with this plan?
Yeah, so we put together this plan using the review letter that was issued by Gilmore and Associates. You know, they found a violation stating that it appears that some impervious areas were added without a permit. So we went out there and we evaluated the site and kind of came up with those locations where it appears what prompted that review letter. And that's what we have highlighted on this plan. In addition to that, we also came up with a rough location as to where stormwater management could go to compensate for that additional impervious. And the thought is that we'll put in like an underground infiltration bed in front of the building here. That way you could take in any runoff that was generated from that added impervious. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to capture all of the areas that were actually constructed, so we would have to offset that area with, you know, downspouts from the building or that gravel area, impervious area right in front of the building by way of inlets or roof drains that will tie into the infiltration bed. And then once we do that, we'll put together a grade improvement plan and submit it to the township. I jumped ahead. Before we do any of that, our plan is, actually the next step is to schedule a meeting with the township engineer. And I plan on meeting him out there on the site to talk about this plan and see whether he confirms with those locations, and also ask him to help quantify those areas.
That's just kind of a rough overview of what the plan is going forward. If you guys have any questions, Chris would be happy to answer any questions.
So you guys got a plan in place?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, Bob, right where they practice driving the tractor and trailers for the classes, all that blacktop, is that part of what he's talking about up here?
I believe that area was actually already paved, Gerard.
Okay.
They just resurfaced that, but everything he has highlighted looks about accurate with what
Good.
what they added.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good.
Sorry.
Never be sorry.
I don't know if they would pertain to you, but, does 7800 have any outstanding violations with Tullytown, any other state agency or environmental agency as of today?
I can answer the question because I represent them with our efforts in Tullytown as well. We haven't received any notices of violation. There's applications in to Tullytown for use and occupancy permits and building permits as well, and so those are pending before the borough.
And have you given the township the building permits of what was already, I'm sorry, it's been a few times that we've been back and forth. I remember before there was bathrooms and other additions added. Has the township gotten those plans?
Yes, so we received a review letter, I believe, late April. Revised plans were submitted in May. We haven't received any other further review comments to date.
And how many tenants will you be having?
So there's currently 9 tenants, 11 permit or use and occupancy applications were submitted. Since that time, as we noted, 2 have been evicted, one's in the process of leaving, so there'll be currently 9 tenants on the property, all used in connection with the truck terminal.
Oh, we're going for 11, right?
Well, there's only 9 tenants right now, so 2.
There are 11 spots?
Yeah, there are, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
then the paperwork says 11.
That's because when we submitted them back in February, there were 11 tenants.
Okay.
I'm saying 9 because 2 have been evicted since that time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You didn't answer the question about any other state agency or environmental agency.
Thank you. I have no knowledge of any other violations. I haven't received any in my capacity, but if Rowan?
I'm not aware.
Okay.
There was an inspection violation that was issued by Bucks County Conservation District, John, so you might want to contact them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I wasn't aware of that, but I'll handle that.
Anybody else?
Sorry, Bob, do you know what that violation was?
Pertaining to the grading on the property that was added.
Okay. Bob? Good? Good?
I'm good, yes.
Anybody from the audience? No? Sure? Okay.
I just have one question for Bob. Bob, do you think the improvements are heading in the right direction?
Yeah, since John took over, I believe, yes, they're in the right direction.
Thank you.
So you had the eviction notices. I don't know why this is stuck in my head. There was formal eviction notices given to the tenants, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's obviously there's paperwork. There was paperwork issued?
Violation, yes.
Okay, all right. Is there any way the township can see those formal?
Yeah.
I can get you guys a copy.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so, right now I need a motion from the board.
I'll give a motion for it, under the conditions, no working outside and no oil storage outside of the building.
What's your feelings on the conditions?
More than acceptable.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second from Mark DeMarcus. Call the board.
Colleen Dunn,
No.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck, guys.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.